Hi Melissa, I'm Bonnie Mintz and I'm really grateful that you've agreed to just chat. And this is information about Corazon de Nino. It is, I don't even know how to explain it. It is the biggest miracle I've ever seen in my lifetime. So I wonder if you'd mind sharing a little bit, Melissa, about how did it all begin?
Well, you could say it goes back to 1974 when I lived with my family in Mexico City, and my parents took me to an orphanage, one of these big, kind of terrible places, very institutional, tons of kids, and very sad place. And when we left, my parents said on the way home in the car, I said, one day I'm going to have an orphanage, but mine's going to be a nice one. And I was 7.
Wow.
So I do think it kind of started then, because that was the vision, right? And so years went by. My parents were very conscientious people. They are, and they were always involved in some kind of solidarity effort, whether it was with Chilean refugees who came to Vancouver in the 70s after the coup in Chile, then Central American refugees in the 80s when everything was terrible there, and that's how I was raised. It was helping others. So then when my own children grew up, I started having this pull to come to Vallarta to live, and everybody thought it was kind of crazy, friends and family, crazy, bordering on, they were not too happy about it, because how could I leave Victoria, BC, where I had this amazing real estate business, beautiful home on Triangle Mountain, children and grandchildren, and I said, I'm sorry, but I have to do this. I have to go to Vallarta. So that's how it started. I rented out the house, came down. My mom decided to, jump on board. She bought the house. At the time, we didn't know what we were doing. I said, well, I think I'll do real estate in Vallarta, and let's do maybe a yoga retreat, because at that time I was big into Bikram yoga. So I thought this was a good idea, got the house, got down here, did not even know why we bought this house in this neighborhood. I cried the first week we were here because I didn't like it. It was noisy, and it just was not my idea of where I would like to live. But I soon realized how things were going to unfold. It all started when the neighbor girls, I heard screaming, and I was on the roof of the house. And sounds strange, I was on the roof of the house.
You're just lounging on the roof of the house.
Well, there was a little short wall around the whole thing, like they have here in Mexico.
Right.
And so we'd sit up and watch the sunset at night. And I heard screaming and looked over the side, and there was this father being very abusive with his wife and the 3 little girls, face down in the dirt. And while he was hitting their mother. So being a good Canadian girl, I just was screaming, what are you doing? And no, stop. And so I went to get the phoned the police. Police came and went. And when I saw them getting in their truck, I went up and said, what are you doing? Well, she said nothing happened. She said everything's fine. So after that night, I talked to some of the neighbor women who I hadn't really talked to them until then. And I asked them, where can I go to find out what to do about this situation? So they took me to a local orphanage, just probably 8 blocks from the house. So the door opened, and there was this big lady. It reminded me of, I don't know, what's that movie with, well, that's a school, Mrs. Trunchbull, the one with Matilda.
Oh, yeah.
And all these little girls, it was like the sea of angels. They're looking at this is amazing. And she asked me in, and I started asking her about where there was support for something like this. So she put me in the right direction, you could say, to so I could go to the authorities.
Right.
Yeah.
We've got a little bit of construction going on, but let's just see how it goes.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So
Went to the authorities and started to ask about, you know, what can you do to help me with this neighbor situation? But meanwhile, I had already offered to volunteer at the orphanage.
Wow.
So I said, well, I could help with homework or with English. So I started going once a week, then twice a week, then 3, and but before I knew it, I was going Monday to Saturday and staying over on Saturday night.
oh wow.
Because they were in a bad situation. You know, food would come in, donations, foreigners donated, and the family that was running it would just take the food right back out. I don't know if they sold it or what they did with it. It's not like they had a huge family. But Wednesday, the pantry and the fridges were full, and by Saturday, it was all empty. So I would go on the weekends, bring food, cook for them, bring whoever needed shoes. This orphanage, I mean, they had a bodega full of new clothes, but she dressed the kids in rags for effect.
Wow.
Another bodega full of school supplies, all donated by foreigners. And the kids had pencils this big. Computers were donated, but there were no computers, not one. So, to make a long story short, I kind of facilitated getting this place shut down. Basically by empowering those girls, telling them what their rights were, telling them that, you know, the truth was the only way to go. So if anybody asks you why you're upset or why you're disappointed or why there isn't any food in the pantry, tell the truth. That's the only way to be liberated. And it worked, because a reporter came one day to cover, you know, a local school had raised money for a computer, and all the girls were sad. And she interviewed them, and one brave girl came up to me and she said, "What should I do? She's asking me questions." And I said, "Well, just tell the truth." And she went, and that was, it was in social media, the interview, and within a couple of days, the authorities were calling me because the girls had given them my business card, my real estate card, because I gave them each one and said, no matter what happens, you have my number and you get someone to call me. So they did.
Wow.
And I had the investigative police here saying, "Who are you? We're going to shut this place down. These girls have nowhere to go. Nobody wants teenage girls. It's too much of it's a hassle. It's a responsibility. And they all want to live with you." So, wow. Why all of them?
Not
I
just
thought some
one
of them
or
didn't
two.
like me.
Wow.
No, they all do. And I said, well, but I don't have a bedroom for each one of them. They said, a bedroom for each one of them? They're better off on your floor than where they are right now, because you love them. They feel that you love them. So I said, well, do I qualify? Where I come from, you can't just give children that are wards of the court to a person who happens to love them. No, we need to go through a process with you, investigating this and that, and you'll have to have psychological evaluation. And if you're willing, we'll get started. So they took 10 days, every day. I had 14 hours of psychological evaluation. It was something else. I was really exhausted by the end of it. And
Oh my
then
God.
a van pulled out from social services, and they all ran through the door with one little backpack with a green towel stuffed in it. No clothes, just what they were wearing. And that's how it all started.
Oh my gosh.
That was the one time in my life, the one moment where I couldn't feel my legs. I felt like I wasn't standing on the ground. Wow. Yeah. Just the energy of their soul is just flying by me through the door, and it was a big impact. Yeah.
And the responsibility and everything
Yes.
that came with and
That's when it hit me. Yeah. And of course, then there's Juan.
And were you married at the time to
No.
Juan?
So Juan, and this is where I say God works in mysterious ways. He knows what he's doing. He's got it all figured out. So Juan just happened to be the owner of the house next door. So the house where that family lived, where the abuse was going on, he was renting to them. They were renting the house from him. He didn't know what was going on.
Wow.
So literally one day, I was outside and he came up and introduced himself, and I said, "You own that house? Do you know what's going on in that house? And you're responsible. You own the house." And he said that's when he fell in love with me. Oh my God.
What are you gonna do?
Yes, and so, well, he was very persistent, knocking on the door, finding every chance he could to talk to me. And, you know, after I don't know how long we were dating, and, you know, I told him I do have this commitment every day in the afternoon. I go to an orphanage up here. And he was, wow, that's great. And, you know, and then it got more and more, and he just embraced that whole part of me, what I was doing. And when they phoned me about taking the girls in, I talked to him about it, and I said, you know, maybe you won't be interested in seeing me anymore, because those girls that we take out on the weekends from time to time, well, they're all going to be coming to live here. And he said, "You think it's that easy? I'm just gonna give up and not love you anymore because you're gonna do this amazing thing? No, I'm here. I'm staying." Yeah.
Wow.
And then he got his family involved. Yeah. So they we're gonna be here. We're gonna help you get this going, and yeah. So it was quite an experience, because we had only been dating for 9 months when this happened. So
That is amazing.
I know, and
That
we are married now.
You're married now,
Yeah.
and here we go. You know, how many years later? We're 7.5 years later. So you started with your 13 girls, you ended up marrying one, he's now your husband. Tell me, you know, you said something to me that just touched my heart so much. I said, how do you do this?
Mhm. Well, sometimes I don't know how, but I always know why, and that makes it easy. It's we don't live in fear. We live in faith. And when you truly live your faith and you truly do believe, you don't have the fear that most people have. So over the years, people say, "Oh, aren't you going to stop? What's the maximum? When are you going to stop?" I said, "Stop what? Stop serving God? Stop loving? Stop rescuing? Stop changing the course of history one child at a time?" It's not going to stop. It's
Where
going to
does
get
love stop?
bigger. It's going to get better, because more people are going to become part of this. And it's better every year. So it's really it's not for everybody. Not everybody wants to get involved. Some people are more comfortable with an institutional setting where, you know, this bedroom has this many, this bedroom has this many, and it's only this type of, we just have girls, or we just have boys, or we only have up to 12, and then we push them out. That's not us. We're family.
So in your family,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, when I was here just a few weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
you didn't have as many children. You had 70 some. And now today we had a beautiful breakfast in your home with all of the children. Tell me how many. Tell me a little bit about what's happening with the kids.
How does this happen?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, news travels fast, and people know about us now. So when there is a tragedy happening or about to happen, for example, somebody, like recently we had a mom dying of cancer with two small ones, little ones, 2 and 4 years old, and they were found by a river. They were saved by neighbors. They would have drowned in that river, and they're here now. And that's the kind of thing that it happens because people know about us, so they bring them. So luckily, the grandmother, who also has cancer, brought them and did the legal documentation necessary for them to be here. So those kids will be with us for the rest of their lives. We're going to be their family. There is no one else. So that's an example of how this can happen. So we just keep, I don't know, it's like angels come, people, their hearts open, and they want to be part of this, and they talk to others, and that's how it continues to grow.
Love it. And it's all on donation, people donating time, people donating money, people donating.
Mm-hmm.
You now have 83 children.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked that because I'm like, 7.5 years ago there were 13 children at your door.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's 83. It's almost unfathomable. It's so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
This is the same house you started out in?
Well, kind of. It was a little 2-bedroom house, and now it's 4 floors, and it's also the house next door, because when we started helping boys as well as girls, we had to separate them. So the house next door that one owns is for boys, and the house that my mom bought is for the girls. So that's how it is.
Amazing. Now, on top of that, I get so excited the fact that these children are homeschooled. Tell me about that.
Yeah, well, education has always been such a priority for us with them. So we really struggled in the first few years because there was a lot of bullying in the schools, which you could say, well, there's bullying everywhere, but when you're an orphan in Mexico, or you've been abandoned or abused by parents, the other children find out very quickly, and before you know it, they are labeled, and not only by the children, also by the teachers. There's kind of low expectations. We had kids that had gone through the school year and they had 70, 80, 90%, but they couldn't read.
Wow.
So that's clearly a sign of the teachers just pushing them through, not caring. So we finally were able to start our own school. It's a Montessori model. We're actually hoping to send the primary teachers this summer to a Montessori course, which will really help take them to the next level. And that's what we're working on with the school. Then they go to it's a private 1-year senior high school. It's kind of condensed, and then after that they go to 1 year of university English. So that's just all the fundraising we do is to make that happen, because this is a tourist town, and as we know, English is the language internationally for business and so on, and we want them to have every door open to them. So the English is also very important. So we're always looking for people to sponsor the education.
Okay. There's so many. I mean, we'd spend so much time, and I wanted to be able to get this information out in nuggets. If people could reach out and help in any way, how would you give me advice to pass that on? How can we help?
Well, the absolute best way to help is by becoming a gem. Gem is GEM, so give every month. Our gems are the stability. That base is slowly growing. So that this year, I think we're almost at 200 gems, which is really good, but we still need more help. So by people, individuals, families, corporations, friends, groups of friends, if people would become gems, it really, really helps us to continue this work. Because ultimately it's about giving them, first of all, safety, stability, love, education, the English, and opening up, giving them the opportunities that they all deserve. And they work hard at school. They're so smart, and they're very talented. We have a lot of artists. We have just kids that have a great hope now. They just change so much when they're here. In a short time, they see that this is a different situation. I have nothing to fear, and I have people that love me, and I can reach my dreams. So,
And it's safe.
yeah.
And it's safe. And I think I've said to Cecil, one of the gentlemen that has become such a great volunteer here, I said, the one thing you should never have to worry about is, do we have enough money to keep running, food, education, love, etc. I want to thank you so much for sharing. For anyone coming to Puerto Vallarta, you really want to check it out, come to Corazon de Niño. We have one more week of breakfast, maybe more, who knows? But we'll get the word out, and I want to put a challenge out for everyone. Give back. It goes so far. I have never seen children, sometimes you see one or, a couple. Every child here that I've seen, their attitudes is so much gratitude. It's been amazing. And I just look forward to exciting times ahead, and as more people know about what you're doing, their support. So thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
And we look forward to more miracles and more blessings.